Howdy, everyone. Matt here. I got a question for you. What do you think the different generations of physical therapists think about one another? Let's talk about it. All right, everyone. First and foremost, so let me introduce myself. My name is Matt. I am Matt the PT, coming at you with another video, another topic of something from the physical therapy world. This one, I don't even know if I could describe it accurately, but I was on LinkedIn. Everyone has their opinion about LinkedIn and the individuals who take up LinkedIn. And I've noticed it. Every social media platform is different. People interact and do everything. It's just different across all of them. But somebody made a post about something in physical therapy, to which this comment was made. And I'm not going to share the individual, but this comment. And I can only describe this whole comment as someone to say, what I would like, if you probably type this in the chat GPT, take a physical therapist who's probably in their late 50s to early 60s, who's been practicing, again, 30, 40 years, probably is upper management or owns a bunch of clinics. Give them that boomer mentality. And I'm using that in the term of like the stereotypical of, what people would say a boomer, how they act, and have them write out a few lines of what they feel the new generation is like. And that's what this really feels like to me. And I want to go through all of these and kind of talk about my thoughts and beliefs on that, because I find this incredibly tone deaf, and that it's a big issue that the generations have. And of course, I want to hear your thoughts, opinions, and beliefs, all of that down in the comments. And then I want to kind of bring up one thing at the end and get your opinion of it. So first, let's just read right through them. So the new generations of PTs today: pay me more. I don't care what the actual rate for my services is. That's your problem, employer. Don't overwhelm me with volume. Anything more than 10 visits a day is a meal. Don't ever ask me to take work home. That's the ultimate sin. Pay for all my education, employer, but don't expect me to go to a course on a weekend. That's my time to hike, travel, etc. Never ask me to work extra to cover another therapist being out. My time is more important than the patient's. Listens to me complain every day about the debt that I took on to get a degree that somehow I didn't understand the debt to income balance. God help us as a profession with this new generation. You may be typing something out and you're perfectly, yes, share your opinion. But like I said, I want to kind of go through each one of these. And now I feel like I'm in a middle point of this. I am maybe halfway between where this person is and the new generation is where I am in my career. But one thing for me is what I always try to do in every little aspect is that you have to understand the other side. You have to understand what these other people are going through, what they are dealing with, why these things come out. And you cannot just come out and say, I'm going to pass a judgment because of something I know this little bit about, that I can make a huge, just huge belief about it. So let's get right into them. So that first one, pay me more. I don't care what the actual rate is for my services. This is, again, an issue in physical therapy, that the cost of school has gone up, and our wages have not reflected the inflation. So that it's not following that we're not getting paid more for services. Yes, there's a whole lot that comes in to like reimbursement from insurance companies, but this is a big thing. Now, I will say, before people start talking about the APTA, the APTA does not set wages. I have said that over and over again, and I will keep saying the APTA does not set the wages that companies pay. They don't. They don't come to any employer or hospital or whomever and say, you have to pay these amounts. It is up to the employer to pay whatever. And people talk about, well, MDs, doctors make all this money. If a hospital could pay a doctor $20,000 a year, they would pay a doctor $20,000 a year. The goal of any employer, and I will say this forever, is to have you do the most amount of work for the least amount of pay. That's it. Think about it. Think of how often you had a negotiation with an employer and they try to lowball you. And so many people talk about it. We rarely ever hear stuff where an employer came out with this crazy high wage and people go like, oh, I was going to take, $20,000. Yes. Less than that. No, no, that doesn't happen. Employers want to pay the lowest amount. And I can really understand and see why the generation coming out is saying we want to be paid more. You come out with a lot of debt from school. Yes, the cost of school is very high. It is too high, and it needs to change. And it needs to be a structural change with the institution, with the schools. Again, the APTA does not go to a school and say, you got to charge this much money. Because if you look, it's just not the PT program that's just this outlier of what it gets paid. It's usually just the graduate level. Now, if I'm wrong on that, please show me the evidence that shows otherwise, that says the PT programs are completely separate from that. That's fine. But I understand. You coming out of school, you've spent 6-7 years of your life in school, not working, and you want to do that. And you want to have a comfortable life. And people think when you want to get more money that you're living in a 5,000 square foot mansion, that you're driving a Maserati or Lamborghini, that you're having filet mignon made by a private chef, that you're taking your private jet to go on vacation. No, that is not what people are wanting. They want to be able to have money where they're comfortable. How often, and you may be included in this too, that people worry about money. Money is one of the biggest worries that people have, that they live. You can live paycheck to paycheck. And of course, people are going to have the 10-second solution. Yes, I know. People are going to have the 10-second solution on that. Cool. And anytime I say someone comes up with a 10-second solution, I would say, give me the two biggest problems that going on in your life. I can give you a 10-second solution to both of them. Okay. And then you're going to give me reasons why. But that's beside the point. But people want to live comfortably. I want to make sure that all my bills are paid and that I have enough money left over. I want to make sure that you can have a house that you don't have to rent. Where do you want to have your house? You want to have your house in a safe area. You want to be physically safe. You want to have a house that is not falling apart, that's not having a lot of sound pollution or noise pollution. It's the same thing, but a light pollution. You don't want to have those things. You want to have a car. You want to have a reliable car that every time that you get in, it's going to crank. It's going to get you from A to B safely. You don't have to put a lot of money into it. You want to be able to set money aside for retirement, because who wants to work until, the day before you pass? Nobody wants to do that. You want to be able to take care of your family. Think about when you're a kid. You probably took vacations with your family. I want to be able to do that stuff too. You want to have this life that you picture in your mind. I want to be comfortable with that. Yes. And you look to your employer to say, okay, you cut the checks. Yes, I don't feel like the money I'm making is enough to cover all my wages. Before you type it out, yes, I do believe people need to have financial literacy and understanding. If you ever watch Financial Audit, it's the way that people spend money on stuff. There is an aspect to that. But I'll tell you, you can talk to people that say, I do the bare bones and I barely have anything left over. And it is so incredibly hard. Now, there's the other part of that. I don't care what the actual rate for my services is. Again, I see that's an issue with the employer, because the employer is the one who negotiates the rates with insurance companies. Are they not? Do you go to yourself, go say hey, I have to talk to the insurance company on behalf of the employer or the person to set the rate? No, it's the employer setting the rates. And I'll tell you an issue that really kind of comes up with that. It's hard to keep up. It is. Think about if your clinic sees 20 different insurances. That's 20 different rates that you're going to get paid. Then you can get into insurances like Blue Cross Blue Shields, where there's over 50 different variations and they can all pay a little bit differently. And it changes. It can change over time. All of a sudden they have a new contract negotiation. It comes up, things change. How do you keep up with exactly of everything that you're doing? Now, I will say I have a book on how to run a clinic that does kind of get into some of that. You can understand some of the stuff that you are charging. And I do feel like you do need to have some kind of idea of that. But I will tell you, employers often don't do a great job of really explaining it and helping you learn and understand it. So again, this one I see falls in the employer. You're not taking the time to educate and really teach what the services are paid and how to best do that. Because I will tell you, I can't tell you how many times an employer said, well, you need to do all these charges like this. Okay, well, how's best to justify them? Well, that's on you. You figure it out. And they don't work with you to teach us. And of course, paying more. Yes, I do fully believe we should be paid more. Getting into that next one, don't overwhelm me with volume. Anything more than 10 visits is a mill. This gets me as well, because these employers, again, will do whatever it is to incentivize seeing as many people as possible. Yes, I understand why. But when the rate that you're reimbursed goes down, you have to make it up with volume. You see more people, each one of them gets paid a little bit less, but you overall will increase the revenue from seeing more. But how often does that burn you out as a therapist when you're seeing 3, 4, 5, 6 people at one time? You're running around to all of them. And we talk about that physical therapy is this, or even healthcare in general, is this skilled care, high quality, skilled care. Well, then how are you supposed to do that when you're running around to doing all these things? How often do patients complain about that stuff? Did they tell you, well, I barely got to see the PT, they just talked to me for 5 minutes and just stuck me with, some tech, or they just threw me on a bike, or they just threw me exercise and did that. How often are patients complaining about that? How often do patients leave places because of that? Okay. How often do therapists leave places because all an employer is going to do is ask you to do more and more and more, and they're going to incentivize it however that they can to ensure that you see more and more. I've had employers say, well, if you see over this number of people a day, you can get this little bit of bonus. Or, if you double book here, that can keep the cancel no-show rate down, because if somebody cancels, then you're able to do it. I had a company do that with triple booking, wanted to put 3 people into time slots because they, there's a possibility one of them canceled. Then your luck is all of them show up. Now you've got this mass of people, and patients don't like that you're just hurting me through. I'm just a number. I'm just a face that comes in here. I am not, Miss Jones. I am not Mr. Jones. I'm not them. I am just a thing that you are seeing. And how often are we taught and we talk about the best care is that one-on-one, that is what we want. That is what we feel, that we can spend that time with them. So again, they're trying to push it over to say like, oh, no, you just can't do that. That thing doesn't exist. You need to see as many people as possible. And it just burns you out. If you think this is a wild boomer take, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. Back to the video. This one gets me. Don't ever ask me to take work home. That's the ultimate sin. That one drives me nuts. Okay. Because I wholeheartedly believe work should stay at work. No matter what. Work stays at work, because the work will always be there. Work will always be there. You turn off the light when you leave, and you show back up the next morning, it will be there. It is never ending. The things that you do off the clock when you go home are going to be more worthwhile to your life. Spending time with your family, your friends, or taking care of yourself, because that work will always be there. You finish it up, it'll be there the next day. And again, how often have people said, think about someone laying on their deathbed. Have they ever said, oh, I wish I had worked more. I wish I had done this. They don't. People don't look back to say, I wish I had worked more. And that gets me, because I feel like employers will always ask more from you. More, I want more, I want more, I want more. And they will guilt trip you to do whatever to get more out of you. So do that at work. Well, you took this one home. Can you take this one home? Well, can you do that? So it just pulls more of you away. And I tell you, that's the thing, to burn out. And I fight to not do anything at home. Like once I'm at home, nope. That is my time. Okay. And I'll be honest, if you're doing work at home, you should be compensated for such. That is the thing. If you want me to do work, you're going to compensate me for it, because that is my time. I have buddies that turn wrenches, and they're like, if I ain't turning a wrench, I ain't making money. So if I ain't going to do it. And I think we should have that. You should have that, because again, that employer will just keep taking and taking and taking. And so this one, no, set those boundaries. Work stays at work. If it's not getting done, that's the employer needs to do something to help you keep the work at work, because how quickly are you going to burn out and get sick of doing something if you constantly, that is all that you are doing, and you take away from those people who are so important in your life. This one also has a crazy one. So pay for all my education, employer, but don't expect me to go to a course on a weekend. That's my time to hike travel. Now, the last part of that, they're just really pulling this out of their rear end to be like, oh, let's make this exaggerated thing that you're going to do this. Here's the truth. Let's look at what you do during the week. Okay, if you work 5 8s, okay, so you are seeing patients from 8 to 5. So are you just there 8 hours? No, you probably there 9 hours because you got an hour lunch. Well, add in the time that you took to get there, or the time that you stay afterwards. You could easily be doing work for 10, 11, 12 hours out of the day. So 24 hours in the day, it could be up to half of it, or maybe more, a little bit less, is dedicated to work. When are you supposed to do those other things? Spending time with your family, investing in your health, just being an adult. That was that thing that, adulthood is the worst hood I've ever been in, is the joke that people make. But you have to be an adult. Go home. What do you have to do? Make dinner. I got to clean the house. I got to do laundry. I got to do stuff. I got to, help my kids with homework. I got to go to their sporting thing. I got to go. Again, and also you need to sleep, okay? You need to sleep. So if you're sleeping, 7, 8 hours, and you work in 12, that leaves 6 hours? Well, again, there's a lot. That is a lot. And that's just during the week. So what do you do on weekends? Henry Ford created weekends. That's what the thing is. Weekends, because he wanted people to go out and enjoy his vehicle. So go out and spend 2 days, take the Ford vehicle that you built, go out and have fun. The weekends are for you. The weekends are for you to do stuff. And I know many people is like, yeah, I have to spend the weekends doing my adult things that I could not do because of work. I have to do them on the weekends. And that can get really hard. And then all of a sudden, it's Sunday night and boom, I got to get ready to go back to work. Now, throw that a course in there. That's a whole lot to go onto a course. So first off, a course can be pretty expensive. That's a ridiculous thing. I also deal with employers on there that, a good course, $5,000-$6,000 for a course. I've had employers that it's just so ridiculous when it gets to a course that they want you to be a really good therapist, but they don't want to invest in you being a good therapist. They don't want you to invest in getting that higher, better course. Oh, like where I used to live. Oh, well, you can go take the courses that are down the road. It's a K-taping one. I don't want to take a stupid K-taping one. No, that's an aquatics. I don't see people. I don't do aquatics. I don't do that. The courses that I have to go to, I have to travel to, and they're going to be more costly. So, and additionally, who is using that information that you gather? The employer. Okay. I would say you take an MDT course, you take a McKinsey Part A, this is a ridiculous thing. You take a McKinsey Part A, was it $500-$600 for a course? Who's going to utilize that knowledge on that? The employer. And you could typically pay that off within the first week. So if you're getting $100 per visit, 6 back patients that come in, you've used that on all of them that come in. You could have easily paid for it in just a couple of patients on there. But they don't see that. It's just a cost. Again, then you get into the travel on it. Okay. If it's in your town, that's cool. That's great. If it's not, like you have to travel, okay, you have to get either a plane ticket or you've got to pay for the gas or whatever. You also have the time that you have to do. So if the course is a Saturday, Sunday, you have to leave on that Friday at some point to get there to the course. You have to leave out on Sunday. You have to get back. If the course is a Friday, Saturday, and half of Sunday, you have to leave possibly on Thursday. And employers fight you on, well, do we have coverage to get you on it? Well, you're making, they do the most ridiculous things to make it so hard for you to go take a continuing education course, but then we'll get on to you about not having it. And I do see that. If you're wanting me to utilize, or if you wanted me to get this information for you to benefit from it, to take care of patients, to provide better quality care, kind of goes back to one of the first points, Why are you not wanting to invest in it? They want to be so incredibly cheap. I'll tell you, every employer wants the past employer to pay for stuff. And then again, being an adult, you're gone all weekend. So your weekend is over that you could not do anything. Now you are behind. Throw in that if you have a family, if you have a wife, a husband, children. Now I've put more on them to having to take care of them. And I'm not going to say that we can't do that, but whatever. But you've put more of a burden that you have stepped away from them from that few days to put more on them to take care of the stuff in the house. And that can be hard, especially if you have 2-3 kids. That can be pretty challenging. So again, this is another kind of ridiculous thing. Like, yeah, I do feel like the employer, if you're going to be utilizing the information, yeah, you need to be paying for it. That is one of the most ridiculous things on it. Now, I will say the education and all that will go with you no matter where you go, but that goes on to the employer. You treat your employees well, they will stick around. But like I said, another terrible take. This one, never ask me to work extra to cover another therapist being out. Kind of goes back to that point. The employer will always ask you to do more. Well, do more. Could you do more? What can they use that for? Well, you picked up all of their people and you did all that and you were here late. Well, that kind of shows that maybe we could increase your visits on there. Maybe, everyone could just pitch in and do that. How come, again, management can never step out to do that? I think it's a very crazy thing that when upper management for companies are often therapists themselves. How come you can't come do this? Why can't you hire PRN people? Why can't you keep a pool of them? Why can't you do that? Why do you throw the burden back onto the other people who was like, hey, I'm already doing a lot and you're going to want me to do more? And then again, you're not going to compensate them for it. You're not going to do anything for it. Yeah, that maybe sounds pretty entitled, but like I said, that's another thing that employers just going to keep taking and taking and taking and taking and taking, and they will just keep taking until there's no more to take, and they will toss you aside and just find another one. So this last one, the complaining about the debt that they took out. I wholeheartedly believe you take out money, you should pay it back. Yes, I do believe that. You borrow money, you should pay it back. Now, first off, when it comes to student loans, I think the interest rate is ridiculous. If you have that crazy of a student loan and 5 or 6, you look at compounding interest, it's going to take you forever. I don't think student loans should be over like 0.25, 0.25% interest, because pay back the money you borrowed. You're throwing a butt ton of interest on top of it, because if you look at what you pay on your loans, you're paying primarily interest for a long time. And I feel like that is really the issue, and totally it's a whole other thing. But this is a very boomerish thing, because it kind of goes back to that thing. And I experience this. All those adults in my life saying, you need to go to college, get that degree, so you get that big job, and you do all that. Okay, well, then you listen to them. Okay, they're mad when you listen to them, and they're mad when they don't listen to them. But I did that. And the cost of school was astronomical. You portrayed this thing as a way to be like, oh, it's a good. Wow, now everything in my life is so expensive, and this crazy debt that from this thing that you were kind of advocating and telling me was such an amazing thing, it's hard. It's hard. And guess what? That older generation doesn't seem to care about fighting to help lower it. This is kind of a good point on to it. Yeah, they're complaining about the debt. Why are you not trying to help lower it? Why are you not trying to help the generation that is coming out to teach them more about the education of it? Again, I talked about like those the best PT schools. We don't need to have private, don't go to a private school, go to the cheapest option you can. Nobody cares where you went. Help them with the financial literacy and understanding how to pay for, understanding those aspects. Schools are actually listening. The public schools are listening. They're trying to keep the debt as low as possible. But this is such like you're complaining about something. Yes, it is a massive problem, because you went to school when it only cost a couple $1,000 and you paid it off really, really quickly. You're not listening to the issues, because not only is it just the student loan debt, it's the debt from everything else. Everything takes money away from you. You want to have your rent or your mortgage or your car payment, your phone, your internet, your power, everything pulls money from you. It's just another thing. And again, this generation does not want to help the next generation, those people coming up, to try to make it better. And I'm going to get your thoughts on this. That really should put this out there to say, if you're part of that younger generation, early 30s and younger, let us know what you think. What are the struggles that you are dealing with and going through as a professional in your life? Those things, what you are wanting. And if you're an older one, so you're in your 50s or 60s and you're upper management or you're in those clinics, the thing that you get to do is to open your ears, not open your mouth, open your ears and say, okay, that is interesting. Don't give your opinion. Don't give your opinion. Don't give your 10-second solution. No. You're not allowed to do that. Nope. You can't do that. Listen to what they are going through. What are their struggles? And then you know what you do? You help them solve those struggles. Help them solve it. Again, they want to be paid more. Help them understand about the wages, about how wages or how you're built. Don't come off as a jerk. I'm going to tell you that right now. You come off as a jerk or the condescending tone, you're not going to listen to it, because guess what? If somebody did that to you and you're an older, you ain't going to listen to them. Treat other people how you want to be treated. Okay. Talk to them with the volume and handling, how to provide better care, why you may have to do these things, why you can't do that, how to help that. Education. Help them be the best therapist and have a place where people want to stay and work and do those things. Create that environment on there. Okay. And listen to them about with the debt and their struggles. Again, help make this a better profession for those people coming up. Because think about this, those therapists, you're eventually going to hit a point where those therapists that are coming out are going to be taking care of you. They're going to be the ones taking care of you in the nursing homes and the hospitals and all that. Be the ones taking care of you. Why don't you make it better for them to help take care of you? And I want to wrap this up to say, seeing a lot of this boils down to about why I believe that the younger generation may act like this. You don't get recognition. You're not recognized for stuff. Again, don't overwhelm me with volume. Not covering for an employer. You don't want to do this. I really look at this, employers don't recognize and give to employees a good recognition. I talked about Christmas parties last year. Something as simple as a Christmas party. Hey, we want to recognize our employees. We want to do something that's worthwhile. A bonus of some sort. Money speaks. Money talks a whole lot. Pat on the backs, it's great. But some of those recognition and listening to your employers and showing that you actually care about them goes a long way. Anyway, I have rambled. I have kept rambling on this. This was just unbelievable just to see and read and all of that. And so let me know your thoughts, opinions, beliefs down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you a copay or anything like that. And until next time, take care of yourself. Take care of your patients. I'll see you then.